Tonight's entertainment is proudly brought to you by NEC Computers, Communication, and Home Entertainment.
From the back of beyond rides Lanky Jack with his stockman Bill beside him, and the black swan cries as it flies, as it flies. Oh, Lanky Jack is riding, he's riding from west of nowhere to buy his very first car.
When you've got a country unlike any other in the world, that's how you've got to build your men.
Lanky Jack and Stockman Bill, real Aussie men before it was fashionable, using Outback images to sell the all-Australian car in what was a classic Aussie ad.
You can find it by the mile at the GMH Proving.
It was made in the 60s, and the sunburnt strength of our country couldn't be seen. Colour television was still about 8 years away.
On this long, hot, once-a-year ride, Jack Ma came to buy a car. It just had to be a Holden. On the properties out here, you'll find Holdens by the dozen, model after model from the very first Holden ever built.
For over 30 years, Australian television has been punctuated with commercials, good, bad and indifferent. Their cost per second can be at least the same as feature films. Casting can take weeks and filming months, and they can still fail.
Pioneers like Jack Ma become pretty tough, self-reliant people.
Conversely, they can cost virtually nothing, be cast in 10 minutes, shot in an hour, and make someone their fortune.
To the back of beyond drives Lanky Jack with his stockman Bill behind him, and the black swan cries as the long day dies. Oh, Lanky Jack is driving, he's driving to west of nowhere. He's driving his very own car, driving Holden.
Commercials that went to air on the first night of TV couldn't have been simpler.
TV stands for Take Vincent's. Yes, take Vincent's powders and tablets with confidence for headache and all pain.
So in 1956, commercials were designed to stop headaches, not create them. But things changed. Every year now, the industry's creative directors are canvassed by trade journals to choose their favourites for the previous 12 months. It's a task which has probably caused a few migraines, but in the final analysis, their lists don't vary dramatically, and the current and recent favourites haven't been a real surprise. In fact, quite a few of their choices would be favourites in homes around Australia too.
As I shampoo my hair, I really love my Decore. I love the feeling. Nothing can.
The gyrations of the people in Decore's hit commercial have led not only to general popularity, but increased product use by 70% and trebled its level of brand awareness in 2 months. Although with the public, the Smiths ballerinas fall into a love-hate category, the creative directors rated them highly.
The daintiest way to stuff your face.
Hold it, left, left.
At Rabbit, we take as much trouble over your photographs as you do.
They also give lots of points to the husband and wife who went fishing for rabbit photos, but caught much more. There were 2 campaigns which went to air a little earlier that really gained the plaudits of the pundits.
John West promise you won't miss out on anything.
They went overboard about John West going underwater.
Fresh fillets and tender prawns, egg pasta, and a delicious sauce made from Swan Valley wine.
Actors trained for 6 weeks so they could make the movements underwater as natural as possible.
Freshest bright-eyed fish, layered potatoes, and dairy fresh cream.
Their only aid was a diver's belt attached to their waists to reduce buoyancy. In this scene, lead was sewn into the hem of the tablecloth so that it would fall faster and evenly underwater.
And for the fish itself, John West's catch of the day. The best natural uncooked fish fillets of
But the recent campaign that scored best with the creative directors involved the quietly competitive men from Apple.
Did you get a design group to put it together?
No. Did it on computer.
Floor plans, revenue projections. Didn't know our system could turn out this sort of work.
I can't.
So how'd you do it?
On my computer.
What kind of... Frank? What kind of computer is it?
A lot of people have tried to put science into advertising and without any success. You can't get it out of the books, and there's not one solution to all problems. Every problem requires its different strategy, and of course there are good and bad results, but there's no Bible as to how to do it.
Which may explain a lot of things. Yet with or without an advertising Bible, Australians have had far more commercially oriented television than any other market in the world, except for the United States. Consequently, more than a generation of Australians have grown up knowing that Louis the Fly just can't escape Mortein.
I'm bad and mean and mighty unclean, afraid of no one except the man with the can of Mortein. Hate that word, Mortein.
A little later, 6 years in fact, an infectious, dapper and very polished performer called Mr. Sheen proved that a cartoon character could be seen as efficient and trustworthy.
Oh, Mrs. Sparkle, oh, Mrs. Sparkle, I have come to help, my name is Sheen. Now I can abolish all the hard work when you polish, wax and polish as you dust with Mr. Sheen.
When it was still slicked back and sides, men learnt that with
Brill cream, a little dab will do ya. Brill cream, you look so debonair. Brill cream, the gals will pursue ya. Simply rub a little in your hair.
Much later it was decided that if you're a Meadowlee mum,
you ought to be.
Who ought to be?
You ought to be congratulated.
And we all know there can't be many Australians who haven't at one time or another been... In fact, their ads have made us so bright that there are kids around Australia who do have Vegemite for breakfast, lunch and tea. Basically, most of us would rather sink our teeth into a Vegemite sandwich than just about anything else. Well, almost anything else.
Take a handful of hazelnuts.
Because at roughly the same time we were sold on the magic ingredients of Kit Kats. It's only more recently that we were taught the golden rule. Good show. That if it's time for a Kit Kat, we must be having a break.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
Expect to find the super smooth ad agency set and its production crew making a commercial for unleaded petrol. It's early morning, but the midpoint in their preparations. The hole they're digging in the middle of a paddock just outside Penrith in New South Wales is to satisfy a writer's creative urge. And when the earth moves like this, it's an urge that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. At this stage, the location not only belies the finished product, but the set of a city skyline looks quite ludicrous. Considering the end result is only 45 seconds on air, logistics are enormous. For the movers and shakers of the agency and production world, it can be especially hard. Hours on end can be spent just standing around, engaged in creative consulting. While the pit is being dug, a stunt team prepares vehicles for their role in the shooting.
They pack like two across. Like so. Yeah.
On the back of the site, the magic of polystyrene foam produces boulders to dress the set and make it look like advertising's version of a hole. In the background, intense creative consultations are still giving their fair share of headaches.
Okay? No, he's too far back.
Okay, set him how you were sitting on.
Just sideways, mate. Where you were. Slightly
no, the other way.
No, he's
how
right
you
with the he's right with the sandbags though.
Okay.
Yeah. Go for it. Oh, it's a heavy one.
Okay, great stuff. No worries.
Superficially, it may look like foam on the range, but there are worries. This Ben-Hur-sized excavation has to be refilled to give as close as possible to pristine paddock conditions after filming is over. Things are going much slower than expected. It's starting to worry the production crew chief, Julie Stevens, and she'll be glad to see it finished.
I'll be glad if it doesn't rain. I'll be glad if we only take another couple of days to do it, and I'll be glad if the stunts come off.
The stunt team are just as frustrated by the delays because the filming centres around their ability to get the car jump just right.
Well, mate, see what we've got to do. It's not done yet. There's foam to do underneath the seat. Oh, right, yes. Okay. You're sitting like hard back in that seat now?
4 identical cars have been prepared as backup models, and the driver needs practice, even if only the bottom of the jump car will be seen in the commercial.
Because we haven't got a road yet, nothing is ready at the moment, it will be really in the last minute that we can rehearse with the road and rehearse with the car on the proper road.
We've had problems with the design of the hull being changed due to the findings of the geotechnical engineers, and they had to do tiebacks and various other things. The design of the hull now is different to where it started. Everything they say takes 2 hours ends up taking 6. So yeah, we've had a lot of headaches. We've been at this now for about 4 weeks, and then before that we were quoting and re-quoting and gathering in all the quotes from the subcontractors, so we spent an awful lot of time on this one.
Julie doesn't know it yet, but there's going to be even more time spent on it than planned because of weather problems later. The pains advertising people go to can be extraordinary, given that they start with an idea contrived by a writer who may have little concept of the time needed or potential cost.
There's a lot of money riding on it. You can see by the size of the hole that it's got to be a reasonable size budget.
How do you feel about the dollars and the cents at the moment?
We're worried.
Worried but not quite broke or really straining the budget. And while she may feel at times that making a commercial like this is a little like bashing her head against a brick wall and then complaining of a headache, Julie Stevens can take some comfort. More than 50 people have gained employment in order to create an image for Shell Ultralight.
It's a good look. I can relate to it. We get a sunset out
there. There'll be no Sloko for the set dressers. As night approaches, they have a long way to go before the hole dug from the clay of Penrith looks like a designer hole. Not ideal conditions by any means, but evidence that the pressure to get things done is building up. That's one of the reasons director Dave Dineen has also stayed behind.
It's pressure now because we're running so late, but there'll be pressure on the when the time comes because of the we've got to get our camera moved and the whole thing synchronised to start off down here at the pond, crane across here, and get up to a certain height. And at the precise moment, the car's going to come across straight over the top. Each car's 10 grand, so they only have one jump, so if we blow it, it's big bucks.
It's big bucks even if they don't blow it, which is why some of the crew will work into the night doing their best to make the hole a better-looking hole. A hole that has become familiar to all Australians in its promotion of Shell unleaded petrol.